Climate change is taking center stage here in New York City as world leaders converge at the United Nations. And their meeting comes as the world finds itself on track to break the record for the hottest year in history. And while demonstrators try to make their voices heard on the issue and leaders promise action, it's little solace for those still reeling from an environmental disaster exacerbated by climate change. For millions, the trauma and mental health crisis that has seeped into their everyday life is all too real, and the number of those impacted can only grow as these once rare catastrophes become commonplace. In tonight's Prime Focus, Will Carr takes us to California as we meet those trying to move forward in a world that is seemingly burning all around them.
I was in bed. It was like 11:30. We got a robocall saying that there were 3 houses on fire 7 miles away. I remember my mom saying to me, it's probably better if we just evacuate. If we just sleep at a hotel for the night, we'll be less worried.
We're gonna die, dude. We gotta get out of here.
Let's go.
As a firestorm closed in on Santa Rosa, not even hospitals were safe.
And as soon as we got to the bottom of the hill, we could see the flames kind of on the whole hill behind us, and could immediately see that it had just spread so quickly, and it was a firestorm. We later found out that at 12:30, our house was burned, so it was like about 20 minutes after we left. I remember my mom was shockingly calm. I was totally freaked out. I was also a little bit in denial, though. Like, I don't think any 12-year-old really, like, pictures everything they have being gone.
The physical destruction is unmistakable. You can touch it, feel it, see the loss all around. But while the physical scars are obvious, it's often the invisible wounds that cut just as deep.
I started to think about it more when I was 16, when I got my license, and I started to be able to come up here by myself. That was when I was able to really feel like the impact of this fire, which was, 4 years later. I have had anxiety since I was younger. I've also had struggles with depression in my older teenage years. When you're dealing with mental health issues and also going through something traumatic, it can just like be so hard to deal with those two things at once.
Flames like 15, 20 feet high.
Like it was a nightmare.
I called my daughter and I told her, Mija, if I don't see you again, remember I love you.
According to some doctors, these types of life-altering disasters can cause some people to experience anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder.
There's probably about 10 different major reactions that you'll see in people after a disaster. One would be fears and anxiety, so people may be afraid after a tornado whenever there's severe weather. So they fear something that reminds them of what happened. But they may also have anxiety, which means they become more fearful. And it may not be something directly related to what occurred. So you may see, for example, fear of the dark, even if the disaster happened during daylight.
My room would be like right here, kind of right in front of us right here. We're moving again from the house we currently live in, which is where we moved kind of right after the fire, and it started to really feel like home. And moving again has brought up so much PTSD. Just so many feelings of like, no, I've already lost one house, I don't want to lose another one. I think it's really hard. I never would have imagined that like the physical structure of the house would be so like as important to me as it was.
But sometimes moving forward means looking back, coming to grips with the loss and seeking help if necessary. In Los Angeles, the Dee Dee Hirsch Suicide Prevention Center offers a critical lifeline.
We're really there to help people feel safe, grounded, and direct them back to next action steps to feel more in control of their daily lives and their emotions.
With disasters stretching from coast to coast all the way to Hawaii, the LA Call Center, one of 6 in the nation taking calls for the National Disaster Distress Helpline.
Mental health concerns exist before, during, and after a disaster, whether that's hours, days, weeks, or even months after the event. And so the Disaster Distress Helpline, we provide brief supportive interventions that help people feel listened to and heard in a situation that to them feels out of control.
We hear people who maybe they're just getting through the physical recovery part and they haven't even started to think about mental health recovery and emotional recovery. We also get calls from people that may have experienced a disaster years ago, but because of social media or the news, they see a disaster that triggers and activates those previous feelings again, and they have a need for emotional support.
A row of mailboxes in Santa Rosa still standing, each of the homes they go to demolished. Nothing seems real yet.
Now I'm going to start crying if I talk about it.
The natural course after disasters is to experience distress, to have people come together as a community and family and friends, and to start to rebuild and to recover. But if we withdraw the support too soon, some individuals may not return to their baseline and may have continued impairment. And then a minority will go beyond that and have post-traumatic growth, where they actually develop new skills, become more empathic.
Fire conditions that made the 2017 wildfire season so extreme were amplified by climate change, and in return sparked something in Madigan. She's now using her trauma to protect future generations.
There was a whole generation of my parents and people who were affected by the fire who were older than us, but it wasn't normal for a whole group of 12-year-olds and children and teenagers to be losing their home in a climate-related disaster. This was a new thing. As soon as I started hearing people without hesitation just connect climate change to the fire, I was like, whoa, this is not something that just randomly happened that destroyed my life as a 12-year-old.
Madigan is a youth climate activist out on Capitol Hill not long ago advocating to make climate change a mental health emergency, co-writing House Resolution 259, promoting youth mental health and well-being in a changing climate.
It was really, really incredible. It was the first time there had been a federal resolution addressing the mental health effects of climate change. It was just not an issue that was talked about. With climate change right now, you see so many children who are dealing with depression and extreme anxiety about the future. So I think it's really important to also, for adults to offer mental health help and education to kids, rather than just assuming they're going to be fine.
Today, Madigan is focused on a new chapter.
About to go to Berkeley?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And while her experience has shaped so much of the woman she is, her future is hers to write.
I think the biggest thing is reaching out for help. None of anything I've done has been possible without the support and connection of my peers and my teachers and the adults in my life, my parents, my siblings. It's all been so important. If you're going to go into activism or advocacy, really making sure that you're doing that with a group, because it's so important and it's so hard to handle any of these topics on your own, especially as so many of these responsibilities are being put on youth.
Thank you so much, Will, for that report.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.